Ray, the Super Bowl is in the books. The Patriots have won another title. As a Buffalo Bills fan, a well-documented Patriots hater, it was a difficult evening for you, a difficult next day. How are you doing now?
Well, after a little bit of Monday depression and a little bit of the common cold, I'm doing the best I can to survive right now. The best I can to survive.
Yeah, you're fighting off a little bit of a bug, and you sound terrible.
I do.
And
not that I ever sound great.
That's a good point. It's a good point. But what I'm going to partially blame for all of this is since that Super Bowl wrapped up, one of the biggest stories bouncing around is whether or not the Super Bowl MVP, wide receiver Julian Edelman, is a Hall of Famer all of a sudden, or deserves consideration for the Hall of Fame. Now, as I look at these conversations on social media, it seems like there's bookends to this discussion. There's the people that say, yeah, for sure. And then there's the people that say it doesn't even deserve to be a discussion.
Right.
All right. So I don't think Julian Edelman's a surefire Hall of Famer by any stretch. Now, I don't like to talk about whether somebody's in the Hall of Fame or not until their career is done, and his career is not done. He's still got some time to go. But if his career were to end today, would he be in the Hall of Fame? I'm going to say no, but I am going to say that it's not a crazy conversation to consider. Now, as we know, it took T.O. like 2-3 tries to get into the Hall of Fame. It took forever for all these big-time wide receivers to get in because the list of wide receivers waiting to get into the Hall of Fame is really long.
It's huge. It's bigger than any other position.
Exactly. So adding Julian Edelman with his current list of accomplishments to that list, I don't love his chances. But here's what I want to talk about and why I don't think the discussion's crazy, Ray. And I'm going to take you back to something we discussed recently, probably a few weeks ago, early on in the playoffs. Phillip Rivers. Yeah. Phillip Rivers has had a long, outstanding regular season career with all kinds of numbers, stats, and accolades. And when you and I talked about whether or not Phillip Rivers was a Hall of Famer, I said, I do think he ultimately gets in. You said, no way. And your reasoning for no way was he hasn't done anything in the playoffs.
Right.
All right. So I think that we would both agree that the playoffs are very, very important. And the most important time to be playing your best.
Yep.
But obviously, the Hall of Fame is an entire career thing. But let me ask you this question. I need to very quickly gauge how much Patriots hate is going to be laced within your argument here and how much logic you're using. So, Julian Edelman, obviously, we're dealing with the opposite.
Right.
This guy is now number 2, only to the greatest of all time, which, by the way, I think Brady should have edged him out back then, and he definitely does now. But the greatest of all time, Jerry Rice, in playoff performances as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
When you go look at the regular season, though, that's where things lack. He hasn't been playing all that long. He's missed a lot of games, this and that. So his regular season career is not that impressive. But if you look at the fact that he's second only to Jerry Rice in the playoffs, would you say that Julian Edelman is more deserving of Hall of Fame discussion than Phillip Rivers, who you said hell no to, due to the fact that he's had zero success in the playoffs, and you just agree with me that the playoffs is the most important time to be playing great?
Well, I do believe Edelman edges out Rivers for the Hall of Fame, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's not just because of his playoff performance, but it's the number of AFC championships the New England Patriots have won with Edelman on that roster. Mm-hmm. Yes, they have Tom Brady on the team, but still, he's been on that roster, and they've won, 9 AFC championships in a row? Mm-hmm. Yes, 100% Edelman deserves a shot at the Hall of Fame before a guy like Phillip Rivers does.
Okay, but your stance, if I understand you correctly, is that neither deserves a shot.
Neither.
And it is a crazy discussion to even be thinking about Julian Edelman in the Hall of Fame right now. I'm going to put you up on your pedestal.
Here we go. I'm going on a little bit of a rant. Okay, not rant, but I'm going to go here. Julian Edelman, he's only 5'10", 198 pounds.
Okay.
That doesn't make me think of that number one big wide receiver, prototypical Hall of Fame wide receiver. He's only an inch shorter than Baker Mayfield. That doesn't mean Hall of Famer to me. Okay, he's 32 years old, Andy, so he doesn't have much time left to play. Okay, we're going to see his stats go down at this point, not increase.
Moving forward.
Yeah, moving forward.
We'll see.
All right, here we go. 2018. Yes, he wins the Super Bowl MVP. My question to you is this, Andy. A guy on steroids, shouldn't he win MVP?
I knew you were going to bring that up. That doesn't. I don't hold that against Julian Edelman. He was coming off of a big time knee injury, and did he use some performance enhancing substances to perhaps help himself recover from that? He may have. Was it a smart, calculated move, typical of something the Patriots would consider? Yeah. And did he serve his time for it? Yes. And has he been tested throughout the regular season? Of course. And obviously he was clean for this. So I don't hold that against him. Obviously, for this Super Bowl, he was playing just as Julian Edelman, at least until we find out otherwise.
If you're a steroids user, you better win MVP or it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. In 2018, he plays 12 games. He ends up 22nd on the year in total receiving with 850 yards, 6 touchdowns, Andy. But let's talk about Edelman's career, because when we look at the Hall of Fame, it's a career experience that you're looking at, right?
Yeah, for sure.
In career statistics, he ranks 248th overall with 5,390 yards. Now, my biggest question is, just because you're an MVP, do you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? So
no, definitely not.
I just looked at wide receiver position, okay? There's currently 3 other wide receivers that have won the MVP in the Super Bowl that are not in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Number 1, okay, is Hines Ward, but I'm going to get to him in a second. 2005 MVP, Deion Branch, New England Patriots, ranks 157th with 6,644 yards. Hines Ward, 2006 MVP, ranks 25th overall, Andy, with 12,083 total yards. 2009, Santonio Holmes ranks 191, 6,030 yards. All 3 of those guys have better career stats than Edelman. Hold on, let me get into this.
Oh, yeah.
Isaac Bruce, who was not an MVP candidate. Okay.
Or Hall of Fame candidate, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did not know. He is not one. He didn't win the MVP in a Super Bowl. He too is also not in the Hall of Fame. 5th overall, Andy, with 15,208 yards. He didn't get in again this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to take some time for Bruce.
And not only that, in this Super Bowl game where Edelman wins the MVP, he has his biggest career game in the playoffs with 10 catches, 141 yards. And how many touchdowns did he catch, Andy?
He didn't catch any.
He didn't catch 1 touchdown in those big numbers that he put up.
There weren't a lot of touchdowns to be caught.
Regardless, he didn't catch a touchdown.
Okay.
And keep in mind, through all these career stats that I've just mentioned to you, he's done this with the absolute best coach in the history of the NFL, which I'm willing to say now.
Yeah.
And
I know what's coming.
Arguably the greatest quarterback of all time.
Sure.
So if you're a wide receiver that has had the best coach, the best quarterback throwing you the ball, how is it possible at the age of 32 you only rank 248th overall in the all-time receiving yards? That's why Edelman's not going to the Hall of Fame.
All right. Well, I think in the end we're saying the same thing. You're putting a lot of stock on winning the Super Bowl MVP. Anybody can win the Super Bowl MVP and have one good game. Arguably, Edelman shouldn't have had it. One of your favorite cornerbacks, Stephon Gilmore, was a big-time candidate for it as well. But it's when you look at his playoff stats as a whole. I'd love to see that list, Ray. Actually, we know where he ranks on the all-time playoff list. He's second to only 1.
Yep.
That's why this is a conversation right now. That's why I don't think it's crazy, but I'm glad you brought up Isaac Bruce, because there's guys like that are waiting to get into the Hall of Fame, and all of these guys are going to get in before a guy like Julian Edelman if his career were to end today, Ray. But he's got, 3 more years with arguably the greatest quarterback of all time and the greatest coach of all time?
Possibly.
Who knows?
Possibly.